What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Ron back with DFS Greatness. I'm here to give you great lineups, great picks. Let's have a great night, man. Before I get this video started, man, you like the content, you feel like this information I'm giving you guys is helpful, just like my page, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell so whenever I drop the video, you'll be able to get to it. And also, I want to give a thanks to my sponsor. If you're ever in the Nashville, Tennessee area, looking for a good time, just trying to see the city, just go down Broadway, just have a good time. Why not call iDrive 615? It's 615-638-0613. Let's get to it. The quarterback positions very interesting, man. It's a whole bunch of good matchups. I'm gonna give y'all the good picks that I like for this week 8 slate. The top of the list is 7,200. You got Russell Wilson going against Atlanta Falcons. Terrible. Coach should have been got fired already, man. They're probably gonna fire him when the season over with. They got the worst defense overall, and they give up the second most fantasy points to quarterbacks. So if you want to go that direction with Russell Wilson, you definitely want to get Lockett and DK Metcalf, have all those guys stacked in. Because if I go Seattle, I will have a stack. And 7,100, you got Deshaun Watson. Oakland Raiders last week, they got torched by A-Rod, man. He torched them pretty bad. And I feel like Deshaun Watson can do the same thing. It's 7,100 on DK and 84 on FanDuel. He's a better DraftKings play. Um, right now, I like that price tag a lot, man. Third worst defense overall. Raiders defense is not that good, so definitely like him. I like DeAndre Hopkins stacking, and you got your guy Kenny Stills is playing because on Will Fuller, guy can't never stay healthy, hamstring again. And 6,800, you got Jared Goff going against the Cincinnati Bengals. Haven't won a game yet. Terrible. They got the sixth worst defense overall, give it the fourth most fantasy points to quarterbacks. Jared Goff right now averaging 16.3 fantasy points. Hit a pretty good game last week, 25 fantasy points. You just don't know how this game script will be. Definitely, Rams should be able to just roll over to Cincinnati, in a home game. And also, you got Tom Brady at 6,600. He is in a good matchup. He's projected to get 19.5 fantasy points, averaging 21.3 fantasy points for the season, and 13 fantasy points last week against the Jets. Did anybody watch the game? I watched the first quarter, cut the game off, went to sleep. It was just pathetic. I mean, that was the worst game I've seen in a while on Monday Night Football. Right now, Cleveland, 10th worst defense overall, and they give it the ninth most fantasy points to quarterbacks. So I definitely like that. No Josh Gordon, he's injury reserve. You got Muhammad Sanu. That's a definitely guy you want to probably try to pair him with if you can get him in your lineup. And James White, definitely PPR monster. And put him as your flex position. And at 6,500, Josh Allen against Philadelphia. Their defense is not that good at all. Philadelphia Eagles defense have allowed 100.6 passer rating and 23 fantasy points per game to a quarterback. So definitely like Josh Allen going against Philly. Philly is not good at all. And Drew Brees is questionable. I think he's going to play. Sean Payton is just playing musical chairs. He's not going to let nobody know until probably Sunday morning if Drew Brees is going to play. I'm pretty sure Drew Brees will play in Arizona. Defense is not that good, so Drew Brees will probably have a field day against them. And it's 6,200. Kyler Murray going against the New Orleans Saints. They give up the seven most fantasy points to quarterbacks. He averaging 20.9 fantasy points a game. Last week, he really didn't do much because he didn't have to do much. Emerson, he showed out. They just ran the ball down at the Giants' throat. So that's what happened with that game script. Another quarterback I do like too, 6,100, Matthew Stafford. Giants are allowing 12 yards per completion also. And they got the eighth worst defense overall. They give it the 10 most fantasy points to quarterbacks. And Matthew Stafford is averaging 21.6 fantasy points a game. Last week he had 33 fantasy points. I definitely like that. He's projected to have 19.3 fantasy points. So Matthew Stafford is a good play. And I didn't mention Marvin Jones last week. I kind of told you guys to go Kenny Galladay. My bad. I didn't know Marvin Jones would have a career game. But, at the end of the day, you just never know what happened, how the game script went. So if you definitely want to go back to the well and go get Marvin Jones and Stafford, stack them together, I don't see anything wrong with it. It might be a Galladay game, might be a Marvin Jones game, but it should be an interesting game. Giants defense can't stop nobody. Matt Ryan is not gonna play. I think they're gonna. I don't think he's gonna play. If you Matt Schaub's terrible. So the defense, I will recommend you guys Seattle when we get to defenses. And another quarterback that I like. Also, Gardner Minshew against the Jets. Y'all see what happened last week. Sam Darnold was seeing ghosts, but we ain't gonna get into that. So New York Jets defense is not that good. Gardner Minshew is averaging 16.7 fantasy points last. I mean, for the season, and he had 21 fantasy points last week. So I feel like it's a rebound game, and yeah, rebound game. Nick Foles is coming back pretty soon. Another cheap quarterback I like. Tighten up. Ryan Tannehill, 5,100. Going against the Bucks, giving up the most passing yards and over 20 fantasy points a game. So Ryan Tannehill is in a fantastic matchup. Mariota, look, it's kind of funny. They're both the same price, but Mariota's on the bench and Ryan Tannehill starting. So Ryan Tannehill spread the ball out, man. AJ Brown, Corey Davis, everybody was involved. That's what you got to have to win. You can't be like Mariota, just watching one player and just not checking the whole field. So Mariota probably be packing by the this offseason on another team, and I know the Titans' direction just depends how they end the season if they have to go get a draft pick, draft another quarterback. And another quarterback at 5,000. Houston defense do not scare me. It's not that good. Going against David Carr, going against Houston defense, 91st defense overall. They give it the fifth most fantasy points to quarterbacks. He averaging 14 points a game, and last week he had 18 points against Green Bay. And that's probably the quarterbacks. Nobody other than that I will go with. Recommend. So the quarterback, Deshaun Watson. And at the running back position, you got Christian McCaffrey at 9,200. Um, Probably gonna fade them this week, man. San Francisco, their defense, I think they're legit, and they got one of the top defenses in the league is stopping the run. Their defense ain't no joke. So I'm not gonna pay that price for McCaffrey, so I'm probably fade him. And also, you got Barkley. Barkley going against Detroit, fifth worst defense overall. To give it the third most fantasy points to running backs. And last week he had 17 fantasy points. He averaging 17.8 fantasy points a game, and he on the field 75% of the snaps, and he got to touch the ball 40% of the time. So Barkley at 8,900 going against Detroit, 8,900. I like him. I feel like he should have a good game. And you got at 7,800. You got Leonard Fournette going against New York Jets. Give up the sixth most fantasy points to running backs. And Leonard Fournette, man, projected to get 20.2 fantasy points. And he's averaging 19.1 a game and getting around 20.6 rush attempts and 91% snap count. And getting around 5.4 pass targets a game. And Leonard Fournette, do not see the wrong with playing him. Definitely have some parts in my lineup with him. And if Alvin Kamara do not play Murray, get him in your lineup. I played Murray in some of my lineups on last week, and Murray was a good play. At 7,400, Todd Gurley going against Cincinnati, sixth worst defense all. Give it the second most fantasy points running backs, and he's averaging 13.5 fantasy points a game. And last game, Gurley had 18 rush attempts. I like that. They're getting him back, rush attempts. He caught a touchdown pass last week, so that's good. He looked a little healthy. And at 7,000, Chris Carson. I like him too, man. Averaging around 17.7 fantasy points a game. He played Baltimore last week. He didn't have a terrific game. Baltimore, they had a pretty good defense. Second worst defense overall. Atlanta give up the 12th most fantasy points to running back. So, if the game get out of hand, Chris Carson should get about 20 plus carries. If it get out of hand, I'm pretty sure it will. We know Matt Ryan and Austin Eckler at 5,900, going against Chicago. Their defense is pretty good, but they get a nice more fantasy points to running backs. And Austin Eckler is averaging 19.4 fantasy points a game. Last week he had 22 fantasy points last week against the Titans, and he getting around 17.6 targets a game. So Austin Eckler is a good play, better play definitely than Melvin Gordon. He can do more. Melvin Gordon looked bad. He fumbled and let the Titans get a win. Melvin Gordon just was on the couch, wasn't in shape when he wanted his money. Still didn't get the money. Going to be a free agent after the season. They're going to let him walk. Because with the Chargers, they do not pay running backs, man. LaDainian Thomas and let him go. So the rest is history. And like I told you, if Kamar don't play 5,800, go get Latavius Murray in your lineup. 5,200 and 5,100, Sony Michelle and James White. James White going against Cleveland, 10th worst defense overall, give up the fifth most fantasy points to running backs. He's averaging 9.9 fantasy points a game, getting around 7.8 targets. So James White will be the guy I like for savings and PPR purposes in the flex position. And Sony Michelle at 5,200, like him too. He had a pretty good game last week against the Jets. I think I could have had a good game against the Jets the way they was playing, but also, you got Ty Johnson, 4,900, going against New York Jets. I mean, New York Giants. Do not see nothing wrong with playing this guy. Pretty good matchup. He's cheap, and Kareem Johnson is out for the season. So, this guy is a pretty good running back. Any other cheap options? Carlos Hyde. I like Hyde. Is pretty good, too. I like him against Oakland. Mixon's been terrible this year. I can't really fault Mixon. Their team just terrible. And that's all the cheap backs. I'm trying to figure these sleepers down here. And that's all the cheap backs that I won't mess with. Running back, I'm going to go get Leonard Fournette. And for my other running back position, so many good options out here to put in your lineup. I'm going to go get a Michelle, Sonny Michelle, at the wide receivers. You got 8,100 DeAndre Hopkins going against Oakland, third worst defense overall, give up the second most fantasy points to receivers, and he got a 90% snap count and averages 17.8 fantasy points a game. Last week he had 29 fantasy points on 12 targets, um, getting around 9.7 targets a game. I definitely like him with no Fuller, and he will get the ball a lot. So I definitely like DeAndre Hopkins for my receiver. And Michael Thomas, he always a good play. One thing about Michael Thomas, also John Brown, them the only two receivers in the league right now is getting 50 yards a game. Every game they'll have 50 yards. John Brown and Michael Thomas. So definitely Michael Thomas, he's matchup proof. The guy's a dog. Like I told you, Tyler Lockett, love him against Atlanta receiving core. Atlanta right now, second worst defense overall, give the fourth most for fantasy points for receivers. Definitely like Tyler Lockett also. Julian Edelman, the guy's metro proof. 6,900, got Tom Brady, so he's good. Titans defense is stingy, so I'm not a fan of Mike Evans. Kenny Galladay, 6,400. I definitely like Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay right now averaging 15.6 fantasy points a game, getting around 7.8 targets a game. Eight worst defense overall, six most fantasy points for receivers. So Kenny Galladay against the Giants, good matchup. Nothing wrong with playing him. Chalk Jr. 6,000, like him too, going against the Jets. The Jets, they can't stop nobody. Do not see the wrong with it. John Brown, man, 5,900. John Brown, seven worst defense overall to give up the most fantasy points to receivers. Philadelphia, he's averaging 16 fantasy points a game with 19 fantasy points last week on six pass targets. The defense have allowed 9 touchdowns and the most fantasy points to receivers running out the slot. So definitely like John Brown. 5,800 Golden Tate, playing pretty good. Getting he 11, averaging 11 fantasy points a game, 11 targets last week. He getting around 8.7 targets a game. So Golden Tate, good matchup. I like him a lot. Going against his old team, maybe a revenge narrative. You want to go think like that. Cody Sutton, like him too, going against the Colts. Emmanuel Sanders now, so he's gonna be the number one receiver. And DK Metcalf, like him a lot. He getting around 8.7 fantasy points a game, about 5.7 targets. Last week he had 9 targets. I don't like him a lot going against Atlanta. Secondary is not that good. And 4,700, my guy I like a lot is Kenny Stills. Do not assume the wrong with playing him. No Will Fuller. So I feel like Kenny Stills will have a good game. Raiders are giving up 12.7 yards per completion. They also have 9 touchdowns of 15 yards or more. So definitely like Kenny Stills for a cheap play. I feel like he definitely get crushed. He can crush that value. And another guy I like for the Tennessee Titans, Corey Davis. Corey Davis, I think he's in a good price going against the Bengals defense. Fifth worst defense of all. Give it the third most fantasy points to receivers. Definitely like Corey Davis. And Philip Dorsett, 4,200. That's just a cheap play. You want to just punt a receiver. 10th first defense of all. And Philip Dorsett is averaging around 9.9 fantasy points a game. And for the receiver, I'm going to go get Michael Brown. John Brown. Other receiver, I'm going to go get DeAndre Hopkins. Other receiver, I'm going to go get DJ Chalk. 6,000. And for the tight end position, I always got Kittle. I always be had no Kelsey on the slate. Waller, that's my guy, man. He been playing pretty good. Going against, let me see, third worst defense overall. Give it the third most fantasy points. The tight ends. Like him a lot, man. The guy been playing pretty good. Nothing wrong with playing him. Averaging 18.9 fantasy points a game, 35 fantasy points last week on 8 targets, 91% snap count, 8.3 targets a game. The guy's a better DraftKings play than FanDuel. You got Austin Hooper in a good matchup, just without Matt Ryan. You had Matt Schaub, not a fan of it. Also Ingram, he really didn't do much last week. I think he got hurt. Wasn't good at all. Hunter Henry, 12 most. They give it the 12 most fantasy points Chicago to tight ends. He averaged 19.6 fantasy points a game, 7.3 targets a game. Definitely like Hunter Henry. And effort, you can still go back to him at 4,300. No Jared Cook. So if you go Josh Hill, Cardinals, I mean, Carolina has allowed 8 touchdowns already to tight ends. So if you want to go get Josh Hill, I was not saying wrong playing him at 3,200. And Darren Fells, 3,400, like him too. And another play that's cheap, you can go get Hill for the Titans. The guy's filling in, Jonah Hill at 2,800. Do not see anything wrong with playing him. And another tight end I like too, no OJ Howard, Cameron Brate. He been playing more. He been having more fantasy points than OJ Howard anyways. Do not see anything wrong with it. I'm gonna go lock him in. And for the flex position, 5,000. I'm gonna go get Corey Davis. Corey Davis should be around 4,400, 2,800 left. You got some good defenses. Okay, the defense. A lot of people are gonna be on is New England Patriots 4,300. Mayfield terrible. He's not a good quarterback at all. And Patriots defense is real. They secondary is no joke, man. McCourty, you got all them guys out there that are not playing. So at 3,800, the Rams defense, Cincinnati has allowed 3.6 a game with 15 turnovers already. Like that defense a lot. And another defense I like is 2,800 Seattle, man. With no Matt, if Matt Schaub starts, Seattle will get some interceptions. And also another defense I like too is the Tennessee Titans, because Jameis Winston will throw you the ball. If you out there, he might just throw you the ball. 3,200 Titans. And another defense, Jaguars. I like them too at 2,900 going against the Jets. Jets defense just is not that good as a whole. And also, I like the Colts against the Denver. Flacco will throw some picks, and they playing in Indianapolis. Their defense very impressive. And the defense I'm gonna lock in for you guys is Seattle. And hopefully these picks I gave you was helpful, man. It's just a core I'm rocking with. I still broke down all the picks that I like, all the plays and everything. But at the end of the day, man, if you like the content, you got any suggestions, plays that you like that I didn't mention, just put a comment in the comment section, and I will get back to you, man. And also follow me on Twitter at DFS Greatness on Twitter. And until next time, I'm out. Good luck, everyone. Let's get to the green. Let's cash out. Let's get to it.